Hi, this is take two of a discussion I had on the LTT regarding the choice of Linux distribution versus desktop environments. Long story short, I suggested that he tried every desktop environment and then select the one he likes. Someone mentioned that adding a desktop environment would cause all sorts of issues, and although I never would do that on a production machine per se, I knew I did run multiple desktop environments back then, and at some point I even ran a terminal server where the thin client could netboot into the login screen and then select the favorite desktop and go on with its normal user life. It worked fine. So after a few replies, back and forth, I thought I'd simply give it a shot myself. And since I haven't used Linux desktop as my main machine in at least 6 years, I thought it'd be interesting for me to see how many desktops I could install and what kind of issues I would run into. So to put you into context, I woke up this morning thinking about that, and I've been lazy. I just fired up a VM I had already lying around on my Proxmox server. It was MX19. Never used it. I probably installed it just to test it out and see what it was about. And anyway, I booted it, I updated it, and the journey began. One distribution versus many desktops. My methodology was quite simple. I simply thought of a desktop environment I knew or read about or remembered at least, and search for it using I got my computer right there, so apt cache, for instance, search GNOME, and I would probably grab -I desktop. So technically it should list me somewhere in there. The package for GNOME, you see it's GNOME. So then I would apt install GNOME, and it's already installed because I already did that. And that's what I did pretty much for every desktop environment I could think of. So to recap my full methodology, it was, I think of a desktop, of course. I search for it, I install it, I log out, then I select it, then I log back in, I play around a bit just to make sure that it works. Then I launch a terminal window and start over again. I just search for another desktop environment and install it, log out, select it, log in, repeat. And I'm happy to say that it worked for everything I could think of, everything I could install at least. Because yeah, there was some issues, and the issues I found were, I'm not sure I would call that an issue per se, but it didn't really work exactly as I would hope it would, at least. So the first issue I would list was the availability. So there was some desktop environment I thought of and couldn't find. Maybe it's me, I didn't search for the right term. I looked around a bit on Google to find if there was another name to it, but I didn't search for ways to install it other than just, if it's not in the default repositories, I didn't even bother to look for it. My methodology was always respected, so it was the very simple steps I just said. So the other point I would mention is that GNOME in the list was not. Let me go to the list. Actually, technically, I could be logging off. Again, on this one is here, so log out. So you can see here, you can select. So that's all the desktop environments I could install in that simple methodology of just searching, installing, and that's it pretty much. But GNOME, as you can see, is there like 4 times for some reason, 2 of which I guess I can understand. There's different ways or window manager behind maybe, but these 2 don't make much sense. I think one of them is light DM while the other one is another. I don't exactly know, honestly, and I didn't even look at it, but that's the second issue I would list. GNOME was there 4 times, and 2 of which don't even have and different name to even know what's going on. So that's the other issue, and well, that's it. That's the two things I could find that didn't work as I would have hoped. First, not all desktop environments are in the default repository for this distribution, at least. So maybe you can install more than that. You probably can install way more than that, but not using my very rustic, very basic methodology of just looking for it and installing it. And if you do install GNOME, apparently there's something that makes it appear. It works though. I mean, I can select it, and if I log in, I mean, it's gonna boot up. It's gonna just fine. The desktop will be fine. I don't know GNOME, especially these new versions of it. I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing in there. As I said, I don't use Linux desktop. I haven't used it for years, many years, but it works. That's the point of that I wanted to make. So if I log, oh, you know, I don't even know how to log out. Log out. I can select pretty much anything I install right away, and I don't know. KDE was one that was apparently. Sorry, can't do two things at once. That was apparently impossible to run alongside GNOME for I don't know which reason, but it works. So I don't know again what KDE does or how exactly it works, but seems like it's working perfectly to me. So yeah. Don't hesitate to try out desktop environments. In my book, it's not a problem at all. I wouldn't recommend to do that like on your daily driver per se, but you install one, you try all the desktop environments. Once you know which one you like, well, you just reinstall that one, and that's it. If you think I missed something, or if you want me to try something else, just let me know. Meanwhile, well, thank you.